good morning, Austin.
Good morning, Beth. How are you?
I'm all right. So this morning we have Austin Kinker. Austin is one of our local farriers. We met Austin a short while ago, and he is the farrier of our horses here in Jackson, Ohio. So we wanted to bring Austin here today because we want to start with some of the local people that do amazing things around Southern Ohio with the equine community. So this is Austin.
Hi.
Austin, how are you today?
Me?
Yeah,
I'm fantastic.
fantastic.
I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Heart's a little racing right now, but, just keep it cool, and I love it right now.
Okay, so let's start out. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm actually from Franklin Furnace, Ohio. I guess if we're going to give you the full story here, my father was from Franklin Furnace, my mother was from West Portsmouth. Well, when they got together, they bought a little place in West Portsmouth. I know that sounds like contradicting, like he just said he's from Franklin Furnace. But I only lived over there for a short period of time in the beginning. And then I started, school and stuff at Green High School. And was over there until about my 8th grade year. And we decided to move, and my father owned that house over on the west side. He said, well, there's no point in buying another place. Let's just go over there.
So you grew up on the west side.
Yeah, west side, West Portsmouth, yeah.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, it does. That West Portsmouth mentality,
Yeah.
But, I still enjoy it. So, yeah, I went over there, went to high school there for my high school years, and, played football, did those kind of things. And then after graduation, just kind of took a year off, worked a little bit.
So did you ever have horses growing up?
Actually, funny enough, when I was about 5 years old, I shoe for him now and trim his horses up. My father and Joe Hickerson, a.k.a. Joe Bob,
Okay.
my dad had bought some horses off of him, and we would go out there and ride. And Ramon, to me, he was like, you're a kid, your horse is the best horse ever. You know what I mean? Loved it. I'd gallop him. I didn't know nothing. I was just running him around and just having a blast. Like I was a cowboy, baby. You know what I mean? Had my hat, and I loved it. And but one day, Ramon. Now that I'm older and stuff, and know more about horses and training horses and stuff like that, I could fix the problem now, or at least make it better. But Ramon was really barn sour that day. So my dad was leading me out in the field, okay? So, we're just expecting to go out and have a really nice time. I'm excited. I got my cowboy hat on, I'm out here, just trail riding, you know what I mean? But I was excited. My dad said, hey, my father had to use the bathroom real quick. He said, I'm gonna step behind this tree. I was like, all right, cool. So he steps away. Let's go over this horse. And Ramon decides he wants to go back to the barn. Well, this is a full-grown horse, and I'm 5.
He take you for a ride?
Oh, bud. He turns around and starts sprinting. Well, for the first 5 seconds, I'm telling you, I was in a dreamland. I thought I was a cowboy, baby. He is running full throttle. The next 5 seconds, you do not feel like a cowboy because I come off the side, and I don't let go. I'm holding on to the rein, and I look up, and I can still remember it to this day. I can see his back foot coming like this at my face. It's never hit me in the face, but it's coming like this at my face. And I was at that point, I guess survival instincts kick in and says, let go. So, I let go of him, and I'm basically scorpion into the ground. And I've got dirt in my mouth. I've got all this stuff, and, and funny enough, it actually cracked all my teeth.
Oh.
Yeah, now some were more cracked than others, but every single one of them had a little fracture in it. Thank God I was younger and I didn't have all my...
That's why it's so important to be able to actually come off the horse instead of strapping yourself on the horse. You have to be able to dismount.
Yeah.
I think we all have had that barn sour horse growing up. So when I was little, at my parents' farm up there, I had a pony, and as my babysitter, they just used to shut the barn doors, and she would just ride around the barn all day long looking for a way to get in. And that's how I rode.
Really? So you just on the outside of the barn, just rode all the way around?
Sure did.
I got you.
And I just galloped or trotted around, and I thought I was doing great, and I was took care of because she was kept looking for a place to get in.
I got you. Now, when you turned her, did you turn her like against the wall?
Oh no, we just rode around.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if like you were like just turning her against the wall. I was like, well, that's a good way to get their front end moving around a little bit in the beginning.
I was very little, so I didn't know anything about that.
I got
I was
you.
just having fun.
I got you. She was like, hey, we're
Yep.
out here cowboying this thing. Heck yeah.
So you had a first experience with horses, and you obviously had the desire for it. What made you get into horseshoeing?
Okay. Funny enough, like, see, I was actually out of horses for a very long time after that because my father wouldn't let me get back on them. Like, he was scared. I wasn't. He was worried.
Yeah, that
And
happens.
I mean, now that I'm older, I can see why, you know. And like, I don't have any kids of my own, but like, you know, you get little kids in your family and stuff, and you want to protect them, make sure they stay safe. You know what I mean? At all costs. So, but I'd always try to find my way back. So actually, when I was in college, where I majored in playing pool, yeah, yeah. My buddy put on his Snapchat of these horses, and I was like, "There's walking horses,"
Okay.
and you know,
They're very prominent around here.
oh yeah, and like, I didn't know anything then. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, still then, I was still new to it, and so I was like, "All right, I want to go ride." Well, he lived like an hour away from me, and I would travel. I sent him a message. I was like, "Hey, let me come ride." He said, "All right, you can ride the spotted horse, but you can't ride the I think it was like a Grula. I think what it was. It's not broke." And I was like, "Oh, that's okay. I'll still ride it." You know what I mean? But he's still looking out for the best interest of me. He's like, "No, you're not riding it." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I would go up there and ride it. Okay. So I would travel up there like all the time riding this thing. And to the point where, like, you know, they get raw after they haven't been rode, and it got raw for a little bit, so I had to give her a little bit of time off. And but I was just really enjoying it. And like at the time, like I had like very little money. Like I mowed a guy's yard once a week to pay for the gas to get up there. That's how much I just like going up there. Okay. So then after that, like people like my dad would talk at work that we're going up there riding horses, and a guy that I was friends with, I worked a little bit on his farm as well. Dave McGuire, it was his brother-in-law. We was all over at their house one day, and he had like he had a walking horse, and then he had like a 3/4 Frisian, quarter Percheron. He's like, "Hey man, why don't you just come up here and ride my horses?" I was like, "Okay, that'd be great." So I kind of left Cody there, and I was like, "Okay, well this is closer. I'm gonna start riding these horses and stuff like that." And Cody understood because he was an hour away, and and trim up his horses from time to time still. And so I started riding over there, and like I just got really fascinated in how to make them behave. You know what I mean? Like I'd always seen these people, and funny enough, I get on YouTube and I would watch Clinton Anderson. And I was like, okay, so, you know, I was just like, okay, let's teach these things how to behave and be good horses.
He's the master at it.
Uh-huh. And so I would do all that stuff, the groundwork, and try to teach them all that stuff, and was really enjoying it. And then after a while, I started taking like a few trail horses in, just trying to make them behave, be good trail horses, and was doing that. And then like at the time, I couldn't afford a horseshoer, like whatsoever. Could not afford a horseshoer. Like I would call guys, like, look, I can't afford that. So what I would do is I would get on YouTube and watch Bobby Minker shoe horses, and I said, well, if that
It's a
guy,
blast from the past.
yeah, and I was like, well, if I can make my horse's feet look like his, and I had no idea, what he was even doing whatsoever. Like I was scared to death being underneath there. Like I was like, you know, when everybody gets in the shoe and they're like, oh, I don't want to get this thing too short. I want to do this and that. And I was like, but I said, my horses, they got to get their feet taken care of. And this is how little I knew about it. I remember looking at one of my horses. I was like, I don't know what's going on there, but the front part of that hoof's got to come off. Like I had no idea. I didn't know it was called the toe, nothing.
It's you probably entered it being without knowledge, and it was dumb luck. It sounds like.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing. I was just trimming up my own horses. And I tell you what, whenever I decided I was going to be a horseshoer, like I wanted to go be a horseshoer, I always tell people, I said, the best time to think is go pick some stalls. I was picking stalls, and I was like, I've got to do something. And I liked it because, you know, you get done with your work, you look at it, it looks nice, and, you know, you've helped that animal, made them more comfortable, or whatever you're doing, or whatever your goal is in that, you know, just depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And I was like, I'm going to become a horse shearer.
Is this when you decided to go to farrier school?
Yep. So at the time, I already had another horse in training. A guy I know, Kevin Underwood, owned it. He wanted it trained up for his little granddaughter, Tatum, which I still hang with him today. They're over at Jerry's barn. So I had his horses, and then I was like, this is not enough. Like, I need to start making some money. So I went and got 2 more jobs. So I delivered wholesale foods from Valley Wholesale Foods.
Nice.
So I would wake up in the morning, go train a horse in the pitch dark, and then I would go to Valley Foods and deliver wholesale foods from 6 to 2:30. And then my third job was waiting tables at a restaurant down in Portsmouth called Oscar's in the Holiday Inn. And I would do that from like 4:30 to like 10. They had late hours and stuff. So I did that for like 7 months.
You're hustling.
Oh yeah, I was determined to make it happen. And that's what I always tell people, like during when you're what I call your grind phase. Because, you know, everybody's sitting there telling you, oh, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, you ain't going to make no money, you ain't going to do this and everything. I said, don't listen to anybody except yourself. I said, you put your nose to the grindstone, and it will happen for you. Don't listen to the naysayers because they've never done it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting here trying to talk bad about people. They've never sat there and had a vision in their life and said, I'm going to accomplish that. They've always played it safe. And, well, playing it safe ain't going to get it done.
My mother would always say, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And you always, if you want to, you'll find a way to do it.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked those jobs and did that and saved up enough money to go to horseshoeing school.
And where did you go to that?
Oklahoma, at the Oklahoma Horseshoeing School. That was a blast. Like, it was a lot of, I remember I was, you know, and I got to thank some people for, like, did it take a lot of hard work, but did I have some help? Yeah. I have to thank my father because in the beginning he was not for it. But once he saw how serious I was, he was ready. He was like, okay, we're going to help him. And a lot of people wouldn't do this right here, but you got to give credit where it's due. I actually have to thank my ex-girlfriend because she did help and support me through those. And, you know, it was time things, we got busy in our careers and that didn't last, but that's a different story. But I do have to thank her because she did help support me through that as well. Went down to, I remember driving down there. I was like, I did the 2-day trip.
How old were you when you went?
Well, okay, this will be coming up on my 3rd year. So I think I was around like 22. I was around 22 going down there. But I remember making that 2-day trip. And I remember when I showed up to like, I saw the sign. It said Oklahoma Horseshoeing School. I was like, I've done it.
This is it.
Yeah, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a blast. I got to meet so many cool people from around the world. It's down in Purcell, Oklahoma, quarter horse capital of the world, basically.
You were in heaven.
Oh my God, I was about that close from not coming back. So
that I would have.
Mm-hmm. So I go down there, like I'm meeting people from Australia, South America, then you got Oklahoma, Maryland, Maine. Actually met a guy that was from Ohio, like 2 hours north of here. My instructors, they were cool. Jimmy was a trip. Jimmy was the head instructor down there. Loved him to death. Like, he was so cool.
So did you get to work on just normal things, or did you have any like really cool cases that you got to explore?
Okay, so we had some, like, you know, you had your basic shoe. Like down there, they teach how a hoof is supposed to be trimmed, like how I do it now. You know what I mean? Like how it's supposed to get the toe backed up, everything backed up underneath the limb. So like that was kind of the basic stuff, but also like we did have some like cool cases. Like we had I've never seen so much blood in my life until you cut open into a canker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
bud.
don't think I could have. I would have been done.
Oh, hey, when they brought, they said, Jimmy's like, we're gonna cut this open for for educational purposes and stuff like that. I was like, all right, cool. He ran that knife down that. I was like, oh, that's a lot. I was like, that's a lot of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went and got like a piece of steel and put it in the forge and then cauterized it and things like that. But yeah, also I have to go back. Like I met some like people at shoeing school that I still talk to this day. T Green, that's we all call him T, but Talmadge Green.
Yeah.
There's Talmadge and then there's Talmadge's son T. That's who I'm talking about. Actually, a year later, went down to Louisiana for his wedding and stuff. Invited me down. It was really cool.
Does he still shoe down there?
Oh yeah, he's going at it hard. He's doing some good work too. Like it's really cool. Like, you know, out of all the people that went to the shoeing school, there's very few that I see are still horseshoers. And like me and him, and then Napoli, he was a guy from South America. He's mostly focused in the Pasofino world, I believe. But we're out getting it. You know, we got to work on some pretty nice horses in life. Like, it's been pretty cool to watch them grow as well.
Right. So when you were in school, did you get to kind of work on the diversity? Like you have your barrel horses, your reining horses, your trail horses, your specialized horses. Like, did you go through all walks of that community?
Yeah, like there was horses in there. We'd put rim shoes on the barrel horses. We had some reiners come in, which I told Jimmy when I walked in there. I said, any of the reining horses I want. I said,
You knew then that's what you wanted to work.
Oh, I knew I wanted to be a reining horse shoer. Like I knew it from day one. Like especially after we went to the Derby down there.
Yeah.
But I told Jimmy, I said, I want all the reiners. He said, well, if you don't fuck them up. I said, well, okay, Jimmy, thanks.
Yeah.
He said, I'm just messing with you, dude. You're good.
Yeah, the Rainers wouldn't like it if you did.
No, they probably wouldn't like that. You know, you're kind of trying to do some serious maneuvers.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, so that was really cool. But I knew right then, I was like, I want to be a reining horseshoer. Like I had that goal in my mind from day one. I was like, I want to work on the reiners.
And then when you got out of school and you came back here, is that when you got hooked up with Jerry Lee?
Yeah, so like I got to give a big thank you to Jerry and Tammy Collinsworth. They have helped me out more, I mean, just ungodly amount. And I got to thank, because Kevin, the guy who I trained that horse for, got me hooked up with Jerry. And me and Jerry, we get along like
two peas in a pod.
Oh yeah, like I tell him I love that man to death.
He probably did my first pleasure horses.
Oh
back
yeah,
when I'm sure.
Oh
For
yeah,
a long time.
Oh yeah, he's to me like he's the king of the pleasure horses. You know what I mean? That's where he made his mark at. So yeah, me and Jerry got together, and Jerry helped me out a lot. Like does a career like in vision stuff take hard work and dedication? Yeah, but you got to make sure you go back and you thank the people that helped you along the way. Don't ever forget them. But I started going with Jerry, and we started going to shoeing places like we was at. And this is before I even knew who anybody really was, you know, like I was still new into it. And, but we'd go up to like Kenny Lakin's, we'd go to Brad Lubin's barn, then we'd go to Roger Smith's and shoe the reiners there. And, we'd go to Emnett's over here and like, you know, but I mean, we was riding horses together. I was riding colts for him and you know, that he really helped me out a lot. Like more, like I can't thank him enough. Like he'll never know how much like gratitude and appreciation I'll have towards him, because like that man has helped me tremendous, especially when I was first starting out. He kept me like where I could do it, you know, not have to go and have another job until business picked up. Like he helped me out a lot. Like I've got a lot of respect for that man.
Well, there's definitely not anyone in this area that would have been better to learn from. That's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. And like, you know, everywhere you go, Jerry Collins, good horseshoer, good horseshoer, good horseshoer.
And that's how we actually ended up getting to know you, because we were needing a farrier, and it's like, well, this boy's been working with Jerry. We're like, okay, if Jerry took him under his wing, we'll give him a try.
Yeah. I kind of rode that coattail a little bit. I'm not gonna lie about that. Like, Jerry just he was very, I mean, just, like what I mostly shoot now is the quarter horses, and he's like, make sure you get that toe off, get it backed up, get it underneath the limb. That's the biggest things with vets and everything. Whenever something's going on, back that toe up. And
but he was not only able to teach you about the farrier as well. Like, he's a hell of a horseman too.
Oh yeah.
Just in general.
Oh yeah. I've had a lot of nights him just sitting there at the gate telling me, "You're screwing it up. You're screwing it up." But I tell you, it just because he can see it. You know what I mean? He's done a lot in his career as a horseshoer, as a horse rider, like, and training horses and showing them. Like, he's done a lot. Especially because, he was a busy man. He was shooting 40, 50 head a week and still taking horses to a horse show and riding them and then getting up. After a horse show, I'll come here to the reining horse show and be the farrier here. And after, I'm like, man, why am I so tired? And I was like, I've like tacked on a few shoes. Like, I don't know what it is about this place, but it drains me.
Yeah.
But Jerry, he wasn't just tacking on shoes. He was shoeing horses at the horse show. He was showing horses at the horse show and get up at 5 a.m. the next morning and going to work.
And he had one in the back stall to sell at all times too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He always had one for sale.
Right.
Oh yeah. And then another thing, that's what kind of helped me get started around here, because in the beginning, when I first, like probably the first 6-7 months, I didn't have a client within 2 hours, because I put it on Facebook. I posted my work. I noticed that on a lot of, this is for you new horseshoers. You go post it online. Don't just say you're a horseshoer and there's your number. Post your work. Post it. And like, you're going to get ridiculed. Don't get me wrong. Everybody thinks they know everything. Because trust me, I've seen them on them Facebook sites. They can be some vultures. But don't worry about that. Do the best you can do and post it. Let people see your work and go grind.
So we had found you, and of course, having a lot of nice horses, a little skeptical. So we brought like a brood mare and then gave you 2 brood mares. And then you started doing all the brood mares, and we're like, wow, those mares look really good. So we started pulling in some of the show horses for you to do after that. And our one old horse, Congress champion and whatnot, you got the opportunity to work on him. And then we're like, hey, this is really convenient for us. So we introduced you to some friends of ours that could help you with some of the reining horses and give you some of the inside tips.
Oh yeah, Arthur and Dane.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy, that's a crew right there. Let me tell you. Hey, I love those guys. Hey, like I've really like praise God, seriously, because like I had no idea when I had this in mind to be a horseshoer, I had no idea any of this was going to happen. I really did not. Like, it's crazy what life will unfold.
Yes. As far as you were here helping us at our reining horse show, tacking on a shoe here or there, and you got the opportunity to meet Dale.
Oh, yeah, Dale DePriest.
And it just, things like that do happen like that when you don't know or look or whatnot.
So it was pretty cool. Like, you guys got me hooked up with Arthur and Dane. So I went up there to Jesse's, and neither of us expected this. Like, go up there, work with them one day. All right. Loved them both. Arthur is like, Dane's like really calm, really nice and everything like that. And then Arthur is like double time. Like, you got to be like pulling the shoe, finishing the feet, get it done, let's roll. And like, it's funny. I love it. But they're both super nice. And what I love about it is like, they don't ever ridicule me for asking a question. They're not like, well, you should know that. Or you didn't know. They're like, okay, well, this is why this is this. This is why this is that. And they have helped me out. They have helped me out so much, and like going to all these cool places with these guys, like it's awesome. Like, it just shows you what you can accomplish.
So where all of you got to go with them?
Okay, so with Arthur, obviously Jesse's, and then like
that's Jesse Gentili.
Yeah, Jesse Gentili. Yeah,
Jesse was also last year's 2021 NRHA Limited Open World Champion and he was also the reserve world champion in the Novice Horse Open, I think L1, but don't quote me on that. So.
And Jesse's super cool dude too. I like it. He's just always like cool, calm, and collect. You know what I mean? And so like the cool places I've got to go with them. I'll start with Arthur. Arthur obviously up to Jesse Gentili's, and then Arthur goes, "Hey, you want to come shooting with me one day?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, love to. I'll come learn." He said, "All right." He sent me this address. Okay. So I'm driving up through there, and I'm like looking around a little bit, and the GPS tells me it's up the road a little bit, but I look over and I see Arthur's trailer and truck. I was like, oh, well, okay, the GPS is wrong. I'm gonna go in there. So I pull in, and like I'm looking around a little bit, and I look up, and this is like Fritz Lehman's. I was like, what? I was like, what? I'm here?
See, I remember Fritz from the Pleasure Horse World and the Big Cheese Fraternity, like way back when, and they had like the coolest horses.
Mm-hmm. So like I walk in there, and I'm looking for Arthur, and I don't see him anywhere. I'm like, okay, like where's this guy at? So I'm like looking through here. I'm like, dang, this place is like nice. I was like, holy cow! And like I'm looking in the stalls at these horses, and I'm like, wow, that's a nice horse.
But he has some of the nicest studs, Pleasure and Reigning, at one place here in Ohio.
Yeah, and so I'm walking through there, and I'm like looking around, and then finally I find Arthur and Guy, and like I'm still kind of like in shock. And I look at Arthur, I was like, Arthur, do you know where we're at? He said, yeah. I was like, we're at Fritz Lehman, and he just got this big smile on his face. He goes, you want a tour? I was like, yeah.
I want a tour.
Yeah. So he's taking me through it, him and Guy, and they're showing me all, like, it's immaculate. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, holy cow. So like what's really cool is the indoor pen, as you're like walking down into it, it's like kind of like a tunnel at a downgrade. And you're walking down in there, and then all of a sudden there's this big indoor arena. I'm like, what? And there's this giant tractor just to do the ground. And I'm like, that's what they use in the farm fields. Like, and I was like, and it's just here. And they got a parking spot in there for it. Like, I'm like, this place is gigantic. And they showed me, like, he's like, Arthur looks at him and goes, hey, how do you water this pen down? And you just see Guy smile a little bit. He said, oh, like this. And reaches over and clicks it, and then the sprinkler system from the top comes down. Hits it. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is awesome. And then they bring out all these horses for us to work on, and it's super. I mean, I'm like, oh yeah, this one's like Spook's got a gun and stuff like that. And I'm like, God bless, Spook's got a whiz. And I was just like, Jesus. I said, this is awesome. And then with Dane, he's taking me up there to Brandon Brandt's, and like, so that was really cool.
That's a heck of a facility.
Yeah. You know, speaking of Clinton Anderson, you know, that's his old facility, and you could tell like it had a little bit of Australian theme in there, like the wood side.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's gigantic. And then Dane was like, "You want a tour?" I was like, "Yeah, I want a tour." So he takes me around. We're looking at all these places, this gigantic place, and again, just top tier horses in there. You're like, wow, and you know, you can't thank those guys enough, because like just the experience of it and things like that, and them just being so kind, and you know, really they take the time out. They don't have to do that.
Right.
You know, I mean, like they have no obligation to sit there and take me under their wing and teach me, and you know, you just got to be very appreciative of that, and just, you know, like, and the cool thing is, it's like we're becoming like we're friends. You know what I mean? Like, we text each other, how you doing? How many horses you work on today? What's going on? And then they give me crap. They're like, oh, well, I did that before lunch. I did that many before lunch. You know what I mean?
And your dogs are best friends too.
Oh yeah. Oh, Arthur and Isabella, or not Arthur? Yeah, Arthur and Isabella. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
they are best friends.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I could tell a story, but I love Arthur too much. Isabella and Leo. Oh my gosh, they played so much at Jesse's. Like, they were running around having a great time. When I went to Arthur's house or his ranch, and I was going over there, was trying to get like a horse trailer sold or something like that. I didn't have Leo with me. Isabella circled the truck looking for Leo and was whining. And like, we had to open the door and show her that.
She definitely didn't want to see you. She just wanted to see your dog.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's her buddy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they drank out of the same water bowl.
Leo is a
Red Doberman.
How old is he?
He'll be a year next month.
Super cute.
Oh yeah, he's a good boy. Hey, he's got more personality than most of the people in this world. I promise you. Like, I love him to death, and I've had him going shooting with me since day one. As soon as he was in, I got him at like 9:30 at night, picked him up from the breeder, and then the next day he's out shooting with me. The funniest thing was he wasn't no bigger than this right here. All right, he's about the size of his head now, and I had him like tied up to like a little chair over there, and they bring this horse in there. They had like the shoeing area was right here, and there was a hallway, and they was bringing that horse around. Well, he's sitting there looking, and that horse walks around, and you just see this little pup like go and start backing up and everything, and he's like,
Wasn't quite sure about that.
he's like, that's a big dog.
So you have a few years experience now, and a few years experience with some really cool horses. What?
Oh, don't forget about Dale DePriest, because Dane got me hooked up with Dale apprenticing under him as well at
Right.
Brandon's as well. That was really
Yes.
cool too, so I don't want to forget Dale.
So of all the horses you have worked on, what's been like the funnest, like kind of like that project horse that you have seen come in, and then the work that you have done, and then how it's progressed and you've gotten it back together?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so my personal work.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, we know they do good work.
yeah. Oh my gosh. The one horse that I really thought was really come together. I don't know. They all just seem to come together.
But there has to be one instance that looked like a challenge, but you were able to overcome that challenge and get it back up and running.
Okay. I'd probably say this little horse. He was. Okay, I'm not. Yeah. Got it.
I actually had a question that made Austin Kinker speechless.
Yeah.
Kudos to me.
Yeah. We should get you an award. There was this horse down in Kentucky. He come up. I mean, just separation, grown out, crushed heels. Everything was like, what could go wrong was going wrong. And I was just like, I remember looking up underneath of it. I was like, this is going to take a little bit. And not a whole lot of depth. So, like, it was a very slow process. And, you know, some guys will just sit there and rasp her all down, trying to make it look pretty. I was like, but you can't do this with this foot. Like, it had, with everything going wrong, what would fix it would also make it worse. So you were just like, and it took probably a good year. It took a good year of shoeing him and trying different things on him to finally get his foot back up underneath it. I mean, there have been times like I was just like, holy cow. Like, I'd try something and I'd come back the next time. I was like, okay, I'm not happy with that. Whether it be like just break over, where I'm putting the breaker, where I'm setting the shoe, how I'm doing the heels, like anything like that. And it honestly took a good year and had some challenges, because I remember one time he had pulled the shoe and it was not pretty. I was like, gosh, I said, this is the last thing this thing needed. And I had to fight through, so I had to get the equilocks out and, you know, patch it all up and get them back up. But after a while, I finally got a good foot on him. I was like, after I got done, I was like, dang. And you know what's another thing? I kind of like doing this sometimes. Is like if somebody says this horse is really sore and it's doing this and this, I kind of like whenever like I can sit there, like if they got like super bad navicular or something like that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this with this shoe and everything. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, this thing's 10 times better. Like, that makes me feel good. You know what I mean? Like, I could help that animal out and makes their, you know, like, will that thing ever go out and stop and slide at the fraternity? No. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I made somebody's day and I made that horse feel better. You know, it kind of puts, and then they're super thrilled. Like you, like to them, you are like A1 in their book. And like,
Every horse, it begins with the foot.
Oh.
From your broodmares just out in the pasture that don't do anything to the ones that do go stop at the fraternity. On a personal note, I had bought a broodmare this past summer, and she came in pretty if not two-legged.
oh yeah, I remember her.
She
Oh
was-
God, yeah.
So the first day we called Austin, and we just took everything off of her, and like Austin said, we just went little bit by little bit. We didn't try to do it all in one day. We just we'd take a little off, we'd let it grow, take a little off, and she's running around out in the pasture today and living a really happy life. Four-legged.
Yeah, and like I remember that horse. Now that you mentioned that was I remember me and Ben, we both stood back and looked at that thing. We were like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah.
Like I was like,
And she was carrying a baby too.
Yeah.
Like, she had all that extra weight.
Oh my gosh, that thing had I remember that. That thing had a ton of foot on it. I mean, like a ton of foot on it. I was like, "Holy cow!" And then I can't remember what shoe was on it.
It was a large apparatus.
Yeah,
I had
that's a good
never
word for it, large
seen
apparatus.
Anything like it.
There's a UFO on the bottom of the foot.
But you were able to take her from that state to carry full term and have a wonderful baby and be able to run around the field with him.
Yeah, I know. And see, like just like that, it's just those little things. Like I said, are they ever gonna go and win the big stuff? No, but it's still like you're like, hey, like my hard work kind of paid. I knew in my head what I had to kind of do, and I did enough research and like due diligence to make that happen. You know what I mean? And like I said, that comes from having very good mentors.
Yeah.
You know, like biggest thing I've learned from Jerry Collinsworth, and I still remember this to this. Two things. One, happy medium's a good thing. No, don't go to the extremes. The other thing is, when you try something, either it's going to get better, stay the same, or get worse. And 2 out of 3 ain't too bad. So give her a shot. But stay in that happy medium.
Yep.
So like that, and it's funny because when you're up underneath them horses, you start like I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, what did Jerry tell me? What did Arthur tell me? What did Dane tell me? I'm like, okay, this foot's doing this foot's doing that. How did Jerry? I remember working with Jerry, and he trimmed the foot this way this one time. Well, I remember Dane working on a foot like this, and Dane trimmed it like this time. And then you start thinking like, well, why did that? Well, maybe this thing's pasterns were different. Maybe that's why they trimmed it a different way. And then you call them like, hey, remember that foot did you trim it because like the pastern like was different on these horses and things like that? And then they get to explaining all of it, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you remember that stuff when you're looking underneath that horse and you're sitting there nipping, you're rasping, you're working on them, and you're like, well, should I trim it? And then you start looking at different things. You're like, okay, this is my decision. This is what I'm going to do.
Right.
And then you see, does the foot get better or does it get worse?
So have you been able to, these amazing people that you have worked with from the farrier school that you went to, have you been able to put a lot of their different thoughts together?
Absolutely.
To formulate your own kind of cohesive with all their cool little techniques?
Absolutely. I I do that a lot. Actually, I used it on a horse here, Emily's horse. Used it. Yeah, I remember stepping up. I said, "That's a Jerry Collinsworth, Dane Johnson, Arthur Bunatello mixture right there." He said, "Well, they look good." I said, "Yeah, well,
Yeah, because he kind of stands out a little straight up in front there.
Very. Yeah. So yeah, like, but you can't put a price on that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I say always appreciate your mentors. And it's funny, actually, this past week, I got to go work with Jerry's mentor, Bert Karen.
I did see that on Facebook.
Yeah, I got to go work on his. I got to go work on his mules, and it was really cool because after I got done, he said, "You did a really good job."
That's a heck of a compliment.
I know it is, and like Bert was a good horseshoer. So like whenever you see these guys and they give you these and they tell you you're doing a good job, like I remember Dane the other day. We was up at Shelby's, Shelby Guthrie's. And me and Dane were talking, and he said, Dane told me this. He's like, you're the best young guy we know of shoeing horses right now. I was like, that's awesome. Like, like that's not an arrogant thing. That's just you're like, okay, hard work's paying off. It's working. And then like and then friendships and bonds and things like that start coming together, and that's what it's about. Like, the way I kind of look at it is my mentors took care of me. One day I want to return that favor. I'll take care of them. Like somebody gets, if somebody like for some reason gets hurt or something, like they need people to cover for them. Like you say, like, hey, I need you to cover. It's like, hey, not a problem. I know how you do your deal. You know what I mean?
That is pretty cool.
And then like just getting to meet their families, and that's another thing cool about horseshoeing. I got to meet I told you, I got to meet so many cool people. And actually, one person I forgot, he just come to my mind back at horseshoeing school, was Walker Copeland. He was 18 years old, He was from Oklahoma. He was a legit cowboy now. He is a legit cowboy. I think he was 18 years old and ranched like, I don't know, like 10,000 acres of red Angus.
It's a lot.
Horseback.
Wow.
Yeah, did it legit. Yeah, he's a real cowboy. I remember we was running around the shooting school with a big old cattle prod trying to get each other. He had it in his truck, but we was just goofing around. Hey, let me tell you a really funny story one time down at horseshoeing school. Because there's a lot of stuff that happened in that time. Well, I'm gonna go back to one story. I remember Jimmy was talking about the derbies coming up. I was down there during that time, and I remember like seeing my favorite horse come out, a vintage smoke. Hey, that horse is a bad dude. I remember him coming out and like I had my phone. I recorded the whole run. Still got it to this day. He come out and I was like, wow. And
you can feel that crowd.
Yes.
That's a cool feeling.
It's a great feeling. And that year, I guaranteed a Magnum, if I remember.
It's a cool little horse,
Yeah.
Jimmy Vanderhoek.
Yeah, he's the one who won it that year.
Yep.
But I'll tell you the funny story. Little background on Jimmy, my instructor. He was in the military, okay? And he was about that tall, but he could whip anybody there. Like, he was scrap wicked. So we were all getting dressed up. We was going to go out that night. I was going to go out to Oklahoma City or something like that. And, well, we ended up just staying around the bunks there, like horsing around and playing around a little bit. Well, we was in the bathroom, and Walker has this big old plunger, okay, and takes it and sticks it to the stall door. And like we were like chasing each other, just doing dumb stuff, and then stuck it to the stall door, and it just hung there. And he's sitting there laughing, and I'm laughing. Then all of a sudden, I just go like that, and Walker goes, "Ain't that funny?" I was like, "It ain't funny anymore." I said, "Turn around," and there's Jimmy, like wide-eyed, looking at him.
Oops.
You see Walker go from this like big smile to like just stand still, and he said, "I'm gonna treat you how I treated him in the military." He got him a toothbrush.
Oh.
Start scrubbing. Yeah. So that was a pretty good story.
So these were like your college times.
Oh yeah, it kind of was. Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of fun. We did. It was great. But I just wanted to go back and tell those stories real quick because this is things you remember.
Absolutely. So you've been shoeing a couple of years now, and they're long, hard days.
Very.
They're hot. There are a lot of uncooperative horses.
Yeah.
As far as work attire, what jeans do you like to wear? What's the most comfortable and durable?
You can't go wrong with some Wranglers.
Okay. Old school?
Old school, yeah.
Like the new retro type, or?
I can go either or. I just like them to have a little bit of stretch in them.
Okay.
I'm not a connoisseur of jeans by no means. I just look at them like, yeah, I like those. But the ones that got some stretch in them, man, they make it easy to work in. You can move around, because them horses tug on you and stuff. And when them jeans move with you a little bit, like it's really nice. I like it. But also, I like good pair of cinch jeans too. I got a couple pair of those too. I guess that's my preference. Everybody's got their own style, but that's what I like to work in. I mean, they've held up for me pretty good. I've had some Wrangler jeans now for like 5 or 6 years, still going.
Get your money's worth out of those.
Oh yeah, yep, got to.
So, as far as your career continues, you're wanting to go mainly into the reining horse?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's like one day. I hope that's like Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
I'm shooting reiners.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I said, I can't appreciate Dane and Arthur enough because they throw so much knowledge at me, and just their style of shoeing and different things. Like I just love, and it's just, and they don't make me feel like, like we know it all. You don't know anything. They're like, what do you see here?
They're good teachers.
Oh yeah, they're freaking phenomenal. They're like, what do you see here? I was like, oh, I don't know. Dane's like, speak up. I was like, all right, well, the coronary band looks like this, this, and this. He goes, okay, yeah, I can see that. And then we go back to the foot, and then we work on it. We're like, okay, that fixed it. All right, good deal. You know what I mean?
Is there one kind of problem issue in the horses that really, really excites you and you really want to dive into and learn more about, and
Stopping.
helping them to stop?
Yeah, like they got a foot coming out, they're picking it up, they're doing this. Those are like my goal in life, and then also you got to deal with soundness issues as well, and that because you got to they got to stay sound. They're gonna go, and Arthur is a king at that kind of stuff. He is. He's like, oh, this needs this kind of shoe. This needs a rocker. This needs it, and he can apply it correctly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He applies it correctly, and it works. I've seen it. I've literally seen Arthur take a horse that walked out, was lame, got done shoeing it, walked out, and she rode it for 45 minutes, loping it around, and never took a sore step. I was like, that is cool. I said, I've got to learn that. Them boys are good. And but yeah, I would mainly like to focus, because no matter what you shoot, if you're going to shoot reiners, you're going to shoot barrel horses, you're going to shoot standard breds, you're going to shoot walking horses, you're going to shoot whatever, there's always a problem. You just got to get good at solving problems. And that's what people are paying you as a horse. You're a problem solver. Well, okay, what's the problem? Well, his foot's growing out. Well, I can solve that problem. Well, he's not doing this. Well, I can solve that problem. You know what I mean? We're just problem solvers. So just get good at that.
That works for me.
Yeah. So that's what I like. And, yeah, that's basically, and, I still I like shooting some cutting horses as well. They're pretty cool. I've talked to some guys about just how the cutting horses are shod and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, all right, I can do that. So I think that's pretty cool.
I'm sure a lot of the fundamentals are still the same.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of the same stuff. So that's pretty neat.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you would like to add?
Go ahead.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Under a horse. In 5 years, I would really like to be shooing a good handful of reiners. You know, just I'm really going to start here pretty close. I'm going to start going to the reiner horse shows, trying to get my name out there for those kind of guys.
By the way, we have one coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I already know. I'll be here. And and really get my foot in the door there. Because I like shooing horses in general. I just like it because there's a lot of pride in it. You know what I mean? Everybody asks, how do you do that job? How do you do it? I don't know, just do it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I feel kind of lucky that I can do it, and it's really.
So also a tip to horse owners.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes on our end, there's a lot that we can do to help you through feed, through supplements, through products that you put on their feet. What are your best tips to give horse owners on supplements and so forth? Okay.
Okay. I'm going to use you as an example here.
Okay.
Okay. I never have any trouble out of your horse's feet.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the reason why I think that comes down to it is good nutrition.
Yep.
Spend the extra money. If you're going to have them, I'm telling you, nutrition is a very big part of keeping that foot.
So we feed a complete feed.
Yep.
And it has all of its vitamins and nutrients within that feed that they need, so we don't have to necessarily supplement any unless they do have some kind of metabolic issue or something like that that's a little extraordinary. And then we feed good hay as well.
Yeah,
but
you do.
That's really all.
Actually, I'm about to buy some from you.
And I try to explain to our customers, it's honestly cheaper to go ahead and feed that than it is to feed a cheap feed and try to supplement everything along with it.
That's what I think, 100%.
But it shows in their hair coat, it shows in their feet, it shows
everything. Everything will be showing up in that foot, everything. And pick your stalls. Get the urine out, get the turds out,
just basic care.
Basic care, keep it clean, that will help. once a day. Just, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't even have to be the best. If you don't want to pick all the turds out, just get all the urine.
Yeah.
Because that will destroy their feet. I mean, like.
Also, like, I do, because we also do a lot of hoof dressing because we are on clean shavings. We do clean our stalls every week. So that cleanness can also dry out that hoof.
It can.
So we always use a hoof dressing. And also, like, after we ride, before we hose them off, so that coats it before all that water gets in there, because it's just like a piece of leather or something. Water goes in, dries it out as it dries, and that back and forth can really affect that hoof.
Oh, yeah.
So we always put that moisture on it before we hose them off and put them away in the shavings.
Yeah, it can. That moisture stuff, that get you pop clenches, get you all kinds of stuff. And just, yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like, and keeping it, like, it's a lot of, like, if you keep a horse's foot wet, it's a wreck. I remember one time, I'm not going to say any names, keep it professional. And I remember going to this person's house, and I mean, their feet were just soaked all the time. And I looked at this foot, and I was like, it just crushed everything. Like, everything was just mashed down, separated, nothing. And they were like, well, we're going to get this thing shot. I said, ma'am, the shoes are not going to help you here. Well, what does it need done? I said, you have to keep this thing dry. I said, keep his foot dry. I said, that's the only way. Because, like, it was waterlogged, like, bad. I was like, you have to. And I didn't do it in a disrespectful way. I was, like, trying to be, like, I was, like, very, what's a good word? I was just very enthusiastic. Like, I was like, you got to help this thing.
Yeah.
Like, his foot is, like, gone.
So we have to help you to help. We have to help them to help you.
Oh, yeah. And then,
You
like,
can't do it all.
No, like, the funny thing is like, people, like, they'll see a picture of my work. They're like, oh, we want our horse's feet look like that. I was like, well, what you got here is going to take a little bit. I said, you ain't going to get that. Like I said, we're going to make his foot better. We're going to help him. I said, but to get that perfect foot, it's going to take a few shoeings. Like, it don't happen overnight.
So it actually starts with the nutrition. So if you need any nutrition fun facts, give us a call here at the store, and we can help you get the right feeding program wherever you are. It's just a basic good feed goes a long way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with everything. Consistency and good nutrition. I mean, that's just consistency and shoeing and good nutrition and a dry stall. I mean,
Perfect.
Helps out a lot.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums it up.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Austin, very much for coming in today and letting us explore your career.
All right, I appreciate you guys having me on. I loved it.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.